that's girls basketball. Maybe that's the lead into the podcast. No explanation.
I bet that happens in boys basketball too. I bet it's not exclusive.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah. I'm sure that have a handshake stuff happens all the time before games, and then the possession rules all the way through college for both genders. Then it's an injury thing, as far as I know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the only time they actually do jump balls is the NBA, and even now in the NBA, they don't do it every time there's a tie-up anymore, right?
It's only for a true mixed possession, isn't it?
Yeah, when the refs can't call it some way or something, then they do a jump, but it's rare.
Mm-hmm. Episode 435 of We Were Gamers, where we read the basketball rulebook front to back.
Deep dive.
That's it. That's the whole episode. Tune out now.
1.1. Man, Andy, speaking of rule books, have you ever looked, and I'm just derailing the podcast immediately, have you ever attempted to look at the actual official rules of Magic the Gathering?
My friend, media.wizards.com 2024 /downloads/magic comp rules percent 2020 24 1108.pdf is currently open on my phone.
That's a useless way to figure out how things work in Magic unless you have hours and hours and hours to read it.
Yeah. I see 9 sections.
Oh, only? I'm surprised that's not as many. Some of those sections have 200 subpoints. I'm pretty confident.
Some of them have at least 30 subpoints, which usually have sub points.
Oh, yeah. There's like 10.6.
Michael, here's an example. Game concepts is section 1. 100 general, 100.1, 100.1a, 100.1b, 100.2, 100.2a, 100.2, 100.2 a, b, c, d.
I see the tree just unfolding in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're concerned about how the rules actually work, the answer is hope someone you know is a judge, because it's impossible if you haven't studied it.
I don't know, man. The rules are relatively actually simple, and for me, I'm not going to run into I need a judge related questions.
The only time it matters, right? And the thing is like 90% of the time, there's no problem. Except that one time when you don't know how things play out, or especially if you interact with like old cards or weird cards that do weird stuff.
Yeah.
Then you end up with places where it's like, so this is a replacement effect, not a trigger. And like, this is a thing that like is a phase that you can't actually stop.
There's so many stupid things. Like there's another one today that now I'm starting to get Magic stuff on my feed. And there was one today that's like, okay, so this card copies the ability of every card on the board, and it is named this. And there's this other card that copies the ability of another card, but it keeps its name. And so in Commander, you can run both of these cards and end up in an infinite loop of blah, 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 blah. And it's like, none of this stuff matters.
The ones that really get you, the ones that really get you are like weird old cards that do stuff like all non-basic lands are mountains. And so it's like, well, so it changes every land into a mountain. But does that mean when you play it, it's a basic land? Or does that mean you still get the effect when you play it and then it turns into a mountain?
Oh, yeah.
Like, is it a mountain in your hand? Is it a mountain in your deck? Like it, and like that doesn't matter until it's like, oh, search your library for a basic mountain or whatever, right?
Right.
And I don't remember how the specific ruling on that specific card works, but I think it does. Like if that card is in play, I think you can search your deck for any land, play it because it's a basic mountain. And then blow the thing up that makes it a basic mountain, and now you got your other land, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, again, the game is wild.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there, but since we're already talking about it, I had kind of like a renaissance weekend for Magic the Gathering this past weekend because we did a podcast which will be out at some point in the future on Magic the Gathering, paper and arena. You and I
sure did.
And that was fun, a lot of fun because we went way deeper than Michael needed to hear about. And still somehow it will never be deep enough for people that are more into Magic than someone who's coming back to it multiple times.
Totally right.
But it was fun. And then afterwards we were like, okay, recording's off. Let's like play some Magic. And JJ Michael convinced me they give you, so about opening packs, right? Like you get random cards out of packs. You know how all that kind of stuff works?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, when you open packs, they give you like these counters for giving you basically like wild cards almost. Like, do you want to turn this into another card that you don't have? Here you go.
Okay.
So if you open a certain amount of packs, you'll get them for every rarity card in the game. You get common ones really fast. You get uncommon ones. You build them up, and you can also just sort of open them in packs. Or you can get them if you already have cards, etc.
Okay.
So relatively generous about it, except with apparently rares.
They have a ratio, right? It's like you get a common, this many cards you're going to get a common, this many you're going to get an uncommon, this many you're going to get a rare, and then this many you're going to get a mythic, right? Those are the rarity levels.
But you're also going to get common cards faster than you're going to get rare cards. So
right, and the problem is
rare cards, right?
Yeah, and the problem is that if you are looking for to play decks, meta decks, they use a lot of rares.
Right. So your time to catch up is going to be long,
and disproportionately more rares than mythics, and the ratio doesn't reflect that, right? Which is the unfortunate thing.
Got it.
Well, we did come across a card that's very funny. That Magic Arena allows you to play for relatively cheap that Magic Paper does not, which is called Hare Apparent, Hare. It's a rabbit. And you can put any number of copies in your deck. Well, in Paper Magic, that card is worth $3 because people need a lot of them. Like, you need 20 if you want to run 20 of them.
Like if you're going to run a deck based on that card, you need like 20 copies of it, right? And so even though it's an uncommon, like people are buying like 40 copies of it at a time or whatever. So it gets expensive.
Right.
There are other cards like that, Andy, that allow you to run any copy. There's one called Slime Against Humanity. It's green. And it does a similar kind of thing where like each one you play gets stronger and stronger.
Nice. This one's a rabbit. It's cute. It makes other rabbits. And if you make 4 of the card in Magic Arena, because that's the way Magic Arena works, the game just sort of says, okay, you have enough. You can just make as many as you want now. You want 20, you've got 20 because you have 4. That's kind of a cool perk. And so I said, JJ, I want to make a deck on this. It's a common card. Maybe I can make a deck that's fun to play because in general, I'm not having a lot of fun playing Standard and Magic with these pre-constructed decks. So let's make a deck. We ended up coming up with a budget version of a deck, spent some rare wild card tokens, and I don't think I've lost a game yet.
That'll even out soon enough. Don't you worry.
Sure. I am 100% sure someone will know how to clear the cards.
What rank are you at?
I'm in the bronze tier somewhere. It's no big deal. I'm not playing a ton.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you rank up enough and that'll stop working. But
yeah.
Ride it as hard as you can for sure.
I'm not riding the wins. I'm not riding the wins. I'm riding the enjoyment. And
that's what it's really about. So
yeah, I wanted to thank you for making a deck that I could actually play and enjoy at the same time. Because it really turned around my opinion of playing Arena. I was kind of like, I don't know, maybe not. And then I had a ton of fun playing that. I also did get to play Paper this weekend. a 3-handed game of Standard, Yo dragons are really strong. There's
three-handed? Is that like
three player?
Oh, okay, got you.
Yeah. There's a dragon precon out there that just like obliterated other cards on the board. Really funny.
What set is it from? You remember?
It was the 20. Ooh, you know what? Stand by. I'll get back to you on that. It was fun though. I mean, it was still fun getting beaten up and playing Magic and doing it across generations on paper, and again with precons, because it was like, it's not that bad. It's you can beat it. It's not out of the way. It's the 2023 starter kit, quote unquote.
Okay, cool.
Which looks like it has a gear and a sword. I don't know what sets these are from, but they're 2023 decks.
Okay. Gear might be Brothers War. I don't know about the sword.
Yeah, you know what? That's the gear from Brothers War for sure. Now that you've said it.
Okay.
Oh, this one also comes with an arena code in case anybody cares.
I'm probably good.
Those precon decks are okay, but they're not going to last on the ladder, which is what I was discovering when I was trying to use them on the ladder. They don't really compete, which they do if you're playing against each other. Against each other.
Yeah, the unfortunate part about the ladder is people on the ladder are making decks with, strong synergies, and even bad players with strong synergies are going to beat decks that have no synergy, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Random cards are good when you're playing against people who also have random cards. But as soon as someone brings a deck that's optimized, you're in trouble, even with a bad player.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a fun weekend combo of a lot of Magic all at once when just sort of getting back into it, and it turned out great. I'm very happy with the state of things, more so than I think I was planning to be at the start. You also seemed to enjoy something. We're gonna throw it back to me as suggesting something good. You suggested something good for me, trying out Magic in a different way with the new cards and a deck, playing the ladder different. I suggested to you an anime.
Yeah. When did you recommend this? Was it on this podcast or was it?
It was 100%. On this podcast. It was end of last year. I think it was, in December.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I took your recommendation to heart and I watched Delicious in Dungeon.
Great name.
Michael, you should watch Delicious in Dungeon.
Well, I have 2 recommendations now, so it's got to go on the list clearly. two glowing recommendations, I should say.
Yeah, it is. And I guess Andy talked about it a little bit last time, then, so I don't need to repeat everything. But a fantasy party dungeon delving cooking. that's the genre.
It's a parody of multiple things. It is a parody of anime. It is a parody of D&D, and it is a parody of roguelikes.
I'm not as sure about the roguelike stuff, but it's definitely parody of like fantasy tropes in general also.
Well, they do talk about like the party can wipe and be sent out of the dungeon.
Oh yeah. The natures of the dungeon is like, you die, but you don't die for real. You just go, like, people will come by and collect your body and they'll resurrect you and make you pay them.
Very, very clever, I think.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's very, the first several, first third, I would say, is very light and feels like very, okay, like this is just a fun time. They're not really serious here. And then like you kind of get drawn in and the story starts getting a little more meaty and you're like, oh, okay, there's stuff going on here. And then by the end, you're like, give me the next episode. I need to know what happens.
Yeah, come on. I got to figure this out. This is hilarious.
So yeah, great recommendation, Andy. Thank you for turning me on to that. And I really had a good time watching it.
You're welcome. That was a good time. It really, it's another revitalization of anime. I watched all of Vinland Saga. I you know, I don't know. I don't know why I brain farted it.
I've heard of it. I don't know anything about it.
It's about kind of history. The main character is a person that existed. His antagonists and his allies are people that existed. Like, you've heard of Leif Erikson before. He's in the show. You know, Thorfinn, Canute the Great is in the show. There's a lot of people historically that exist. It parallels history, but it has this story of like basically a kid who becomes like a almost ninja assassin, you know, mercenary type guy that really a lot of people are like, I don't know, this is not the history of Thorfinn the person, but it might eventually parallel that.
So like a historical fantasy, much in the way there's like historical period books and stuff that take place in a time period, but really aren't real history.
That. And while it is well made and you're kind of rooting to see how the characters are going to change over time, that thing where episodes just endlessly continue storylines and they drag them out episode to episode to episode to episode, and you're like, come on, just get to the part where they attack the farm. You know, like, we've now gotten every character's backstory that isn't a character that before this episode. And then the next episode will add a new character. We'll get their backstory, and then we'll move the main story apace for 3 minutes, right? That shonen style, without the hair yelling and screaming. Almost that little bit of like, we got 3 minutes to move the story, and the rest of it is filler. It's filler more in the way of like trying to develop the character over time, right? Like, he changes so much between being like a little kid into like a ninja murderer, into a pacifist, into a trade person. And so like they're doing a lot of talking, but it really is juxtaposed against Delicious in Dungeon, which is like, let's have some fun with these ideas. And while it's really silly, at the same time, you're like, what's going to happen here? Like, there's a story happening. I want to know.
Yeah, they do a really good job. I don't know this other anime other than like I've seen a picture of it or whatever, but they do a really good job of bringing you slowly into the characters. And like, there's always weird people in anime. There has to be some kind of hook. And they slow roll you into how weird some of these guys are. So it's cool.
They really do slow roll you into, especially the dwarf's backstory.
Sure.
Which I won't ruin since Michael's going to watch it, I'm sure.
Indeed.
They've definitely like, as you find more and more out, you're like, and it all makes sense. It's not out of nowhere, right? You could kind of guess some of it if you were paying attention. Vinland Saga is not pulling the wool over your eyes either or anything. It's just a very historical drama, and I think a lot of people are into that. I don't think it's necessarily bad. It's just watching both of them back to back. I know what style I'm looking for now.
Mm-hmm.
And I just the speed needs to be there. I don't need 4 episodes of the same character development. I get it, but or maybe less that and more like develop characters that I'm going to care about long term.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
Not for 1 episode, maybe 2, and then you either kill them or we never see him again. I don't need that. Yeah, that's anime. There it is. I think that means we should talk about some video games. Anime, video games, they kind of go hand in hand.
So unusual for this podcast.
I know. Getting back to our roots, question mark?
Two episodes in a row, we kind of didn't really talk about it. We talked about MTG Arena, but that's not really a video game as much as it is a simulator. What are we playing right now? Because you were working on Horizon, or did you beat Horizon Forbidden West?
Which of us are you talking to?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yes, is that your answer?
I'm gonna throw the spoon in the middle here and see who comes out alive.
Right, well, go ahead, JJ.
No, you go, Michael.
I was going to say I actually had some time to fire it back up over the weekend, so made a little more progress. I liberated a small settlement, which always feels good. Hail the conquering hero and all that.
Yes.
Which, I joke, but that is kind of the reception that your main character gets in a lot of places in this game.
They're like, and who are you?
The savior of Meridian has come to save us as well.
Yeah. Never mind that these are like the horrible warmongering tribes of the West or whatever, and then they're like, "Oh, you're going to save us? Great! Like, love it. Yeah,
yeah. While you're here, we have these quests.
I'm sure you'll reform. That's fine.
Yeah.
So have you done any of the like random open world stuff out there while you're running around?
Yeah. So what I did was that quest to liberate the little settlement was a major side quest. There's a whole host of categories of quests, Andy.
Major and minor.
Yeah. So there's main story beats, and then there's one that's basically like major side quests, and then all sorts of smaller stuff underneath that, all the way down to fetch quests.
And you're skipping fetch quests and not 100%ing this game, right, Michael?
Sure. Tell yourself that.
This man is never going to finish this game.
Nah, and I didn't wind up 100%ing everything there was to do in the first one either. I certainly finished all the major and minor story beats, but I didn't. I wasn't going out and finding every recording hidden on the map.
Oh, okay.
So I have played almost all there is in that game. I have finished the main story, and I have gotten into the DLC, and then I kind of put it down because I was getting bored with it. I'll probably come back to it and finish the DLC off because I was interested in the story, but like I just had played too much of it at that point, and I just wanted to do something else.
Sure, yeah.
But let me tell you, the skill points, they are a coming. You don't need to worry. Don't need to do everything. They'll give it to you. You'll have plenty.
I was not concerned. I remembered how they threw them at you in the first game.
Yeah, I didn't max every tree out because I didn't care about some of them. Right?
Sure,
it was like, oh, I'm not using the traps, and so I'm not putting any points into the traps, and so I have, I have every single point in the bow hunter and the warrior tree and the machine overriding tree or whatever it was, right? Like, I have almost every point of thing that I want in those, right? So, plenty of points to go around. So don't worry about that for sure. And, like if you find one of the activities that you just like don't like or is a pain, bye. Don't have to hang. I can go. There's other things for me to do.
Yeah, that is the nice thing about them throwing experience and skill points at you is you don't ever feel like you have to do every little thing to make your character strong enough to get through something.
Yeah, like I think all the side quests are like decent to good. Like the ones that have like follow, there's a tab labeled like side quest, and like doing anything under there is pretty much like it's not in the main thrust of the game, but their characters you'll see they'll come back sometimes. They're worth interacting with, running their little quests. And definitely any of the main quest you have to do obviously for the for the thrust of the narrative, but then sometimes the characters that like the main characters who stick with you during the game, those characters will pop up side quests, and you should definitely do all of those if you can.
Yeah the first game was like that too, where the battle at the end was influenced by how many of those primary NPCs you had interacted with and built a rapport with.
Oh, I'm not sure we talked about that when you played that game, about like the rapport system affecting the game in a way that's more than like a BioWare system?
So we probably didn't talk about it because there's not really a rapport system. It's more the kind of thing where if you do certain side quests to help, villages or individuals, several of them get roped into the fight to save the final city, right? And so they show up and fight on your side.
Okay.
And I'm not all the way clear how much they actually help. Like,
yeah,
if you don't do any of them, is the fight actually even harder? I'm not clear.
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe it's not any harder. You just have a lot more enemies to clear on your own.
Yeah, it's like you got to run around more outside of the village or something. Yeah,
right.
I'm not
So maybe
sure.
it's just more of a slog for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how exactly that idea translates into this game, but there are definitely times where you'll see people who helped earlier pop back up later. Like it happened at least a couple of times. So
Okay, good to know.
good deeds are, always good to do a good deed for people, right?
Yeah, it does pay off. Did doing the good deed of fixing your fence pay off?
Well, it hasn't been fixed yet, so no.
Oh, I was hoping given an extra week we would figure something out.
I think we have a plan, and the neighbor on the one side is down or is is interested in the plan. So it's just a matter of now we have to coordinate with the electrician and see what's going to happen with all that. So
that could affect the fence situation.
So we talked about that I have to dig a trench along the side of my house, right?
Right.
Correct.
Hey, do you know where a trench goes? Right next to the fence. You know, it would be easier to dig if the fence wasn't there. And it's not like I'm trying to put the conduit or whatever on his side of the property. That's not the goal here. The goal is to like allow the men to be able to dig.
Right, in an expedient fashion.
Yeah, and it's probably easier if you don't have to stand on one narrow side and dig in one direction only, right? So we're going to try and coordinate all that and happen. I'll have all that happen at the same time. But we got to figure out when the date is, and that's in SDG&E's court, not ours.
Has there been electrical progress? Electric progress? Electrifying progress?
No, not that.
Probably for the best.
But we picked out some new fixtures, so that's cool. We're going to replace all the light fixtures in the various rooms, so they'll be more modern and nice. So we picked all that out and ordered those the other day. But none of that has been done yet. The hallway lights have been removed, and we're going to replace those with cans, so that should be nicer.
Yeah, they're fun.
There's currently one and holes for two more. So we'll see how that looks when the other ones get in. And then we're going to update the trims on the other cans we have in the rest of the house to match, just so it's all the same looking thing.
Okay.
But yeah, that's sort of where we are with the electricity stuff. We're also replacing the lights in the garage with like some new shop lights that are not giant fluorescent bulbs.
Oh yeah, those LED style ones that are kind of like flatter and
yeah, just nice. just some general shop lights and like fixing up the electrical stuff that's going on in the garage so it actually doesn't look like and works properly. And then getting ready to run the electrical circuit for the car charger out there, which can't do until the panel gets done. So,
right. Well, you could pre-run it. You just can't plug it in.
It's like run it to the attic and then leave it there because there's nowhere for it to go. So, yeah.
Well, all that stuff, I don't know if you've seen electrical wiring recently, but a lot of that stuff is just pre-done in all the conduit and everything. They just sort of run it out.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to junction it and all this kind of stuff. So I'm not like the guy's good. I'm not worried about any of that. It's just a matter of like he hasn't done it yet. So,
Yeah. We haven't done something yet that I think it's probably time to do on here. And we've got 20 minutes to do it. It's probably enough time, actually, in my opinion. But we kind of let it mellow for a little while. I don't know if that was on purpose or if we all felt the same way. The Switch 2, we speculated on it before the podcast, on the podcast before it was released. I don't know how we feel about it after the quote unquote release. There's not a lot of info, right? Or has more leaked out in the weeks since that situation?
Yeah,
I think all I've seen in the wake of the of that teaser that they put out about it has been just increased speculation about, you know, when the launch date might be, the games that we might see at launch. But I haven't seen anything, you know, as definitive as some of the leaks that were coming out in the time immediately before they made this announcement.
Wilder speculation than there was before, huh?
Yeah, I think the little teaser they dropped basically is enough to whet your appetite and sort of show you the general shape of the thing, but there's no technical information at all and no information about games. So it's like, okay, but I don't know anything.
Yeah, well, there were two little teasers, right? Like at the end of that video, they showed footage from a new Mario Kart, what people seem to presume is a new Mario Kart, and then they showed one screen about backwards compatibility,
which is something they had, I think, announced before, right?
Right, they had announced that it would be backwards compatible with no details on specifically what that meant.
Yeah. So, you know, good to get some clarity that, like, hey, yeah, like your Switch games are going to work on your Switch too, supposedly.
Yeah. Yeah. And physical ones too, not even just digital, which is cool.
Yes.
I'm guessing somewhere along the way here, we're going to see that the new Switch 2 cartridges are slightly different or something to keep them from going to Switch 1s and not working and people freaking out.
I mean, they may not, and they just have different internals, right? And you stick it in the Switch 1, or it'll be like, no, this is a Switch 2 card, go away.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that could work, I guess.
They could just do that with software.
Or Andy could be right, and they just have the like little slot be, you know, it's like, oh, there's two.
Purpose.
Yeah, it has an extra like ridge, and then the Switch 2 ones, you know, stick on both sides of the ridge or something.
Right, it's key.
What they did with the 3DS. Versus
totally
DS.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you know me, I like to use the past as their barometer. They really do love to do things the same way as much as they can. So,
but one thing we can say for sure that I think makes all of us happier is that the Joy-Cons are larger.
They are larger.
The whole thing
is larger,
right?
Also larger,
because the whole thing is larger, and it's still
right.
You know, they're still the same height as the screen.
Yeah, I'm really curious.
Are the buttons bigger?
Yeah, that's the real question.
That's going to be
Oh, I'm curious, like the way that, you know. So they showed the like snap in like magnetic connection to the side.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, I saw that too.
You know, this isn't a problem for me because I don't got kids, but I wonder for y'all, is this going to be a problematic in the household with young ones ripping those things on and off, causing potential problems?
I mean, it feels like it in some ways it actually might be a better thing. It's the whole tripping over the power cord idea, right? If it's just magnetic and it tugs right out, you're not going to damage something by trying to pull it off and it, you know, yanking.
Yeah, true. Maybe I didn't think about it that way. I mean, maybe they designed it so you're supposed to do this and it's not a big issue.
Yeah, it's possible.
Did everyone see during the presentation when they were holding them vertically and like a mouse? How do we think about that?
Running them over the table. I had seen the speculation going into it that they had an optical sensor And a couple of people were saying, "Oh, maybe it's so that you can use them as a mouse." And I still don't understand. And maybe this is Nintendo having some new outside the box idea again, which they've done plenty of. I still don't understand what the utility of that would be over just, say, directing a cursor with the joystick.
The answer would be playing Civ.
Yeah.
Or something like that, right? But
Which, I mean,
or maybe
if you
they're
search,
planning to. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you search Switch 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stories in is the IGN story about Civ 7 remaining coy on the Switch 2's mouse Joy-Con. So people are already wondering about it.
That sounds like a confirmation to me.
Yeah, not deliberately not saying anything is just as telling.
Yeah. I do wonder, is it like, Michael was saying some kind of off the wall thing. It's like, is Microsoft porting Excel or Word to this thing or something? Like, is that the...
That'd be kind of hilarious.
The hot new really collab dumb. From Nintendo.
Hilarious and really dumb.
It's Nintendo, right? You never count them out. They always go something super dumb once in a while.
Hey, if they wanted to replace the paperclip in Word with a me, I wouldn't be sad about that.
Yeah, but not me. I don't want me yelling at me.
You got to get the old Admiral Akbar me or something out, right? Like, got to bust out one of the ancient ones.
Yeah. I think I still have... Well, I still have my Wii U, which means I think my Miis are still alive. I just got to figure out how to get them onto a Switch.
Bad news. I think the Wii U has been completely shut down at this point, and there's no way to get anything off of there. So
I'm sure there's some way to attach them to an amiibo.
Oh, well, that maybe. Yeah, I don't know about amiibos.
Yeah.
Those are the dark arts.
Oh, boy. Well, I guess there's that event. There's events that are going to be taking place soon, right? Seeing all these things in person and playing on them. But
yes, and then there's the new the next Direct they've already given a date for.
Right.
So
which
April 2nd.
Yeah, have to include something, otherwise people will freak out.
Oh, if they don't Switch 2 themed Direct.
If they don't reveal the price and the release date at that, I would be shocked.
Oh yeah. Okay. I think those will both be announced then.
And it may not mean that it comes out soon. It might be like, oh yeah, April, we're showing it. And then it's like release date October, right?
Right.
But I feel they have to show the price.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, what do you think the price is going to be? And then people can email them once we give our guesses. I think, what was it, $199 for the Switch? What was the Switch?
I haven't bought a Switch in so long, I don't remember.
I know, right? No,
were
Switch is $299.
Yeah, I would say, were they $299?
Okay.
Say $399.
What's a PS5 is 360 used, 374 for a digital, 329.
You think a PS4 what is a PS4 these days? Like MSRP?
PS5?
Wait, yeah, PS5.
PS5 MSRP for a digital PS5.
The cheapest
is like $399-ish.
Okay, so 400.
400?
And Xbox has the lower SKU, which is like what, $399 or is $299 then?
Might be $299. Maybe they have to stay at $299.
Yeah, I wonder, right?
Yeah,
I could believe $329 feels right to me, Andy. I think that's like a 350, right? Like something in there feels right to me. Like they can't charge $400. Like if someone says $399 and you're like, I could get a PS5 for this, I think that they're crazed.
They're gonna be boned, yeah.
So, I know that's not really a market overlap because Nintendo probably is going to get a bunch of people who own PS5s to buy their Switch 2s anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't feel like they can charge $400.
I don't think so either. But
we also don't know yet what it can do, so it's kind of idle speculation.
Yeah, all the rumors are pegging it as like PS4 level graphics hardware.
Right.
Well, then it would have to be priced near a Series S, right? $300. You might be onto something there.
If it stayed at $299, I don't think people would be upset.
I think they would. It would be considered a coup if they kept the price the same.
But those tariffs,
8 years later. Oh man, why'd you? Don't do it, man.
They're importing this stuff from China, right? I mean, it's being built overseas, so.
Well, maybe they sell it to Japan, and then Japan sells it to the.
That's not how tariffs work. They still get charged when you bring it into the U.S.
It depends on which country and companies, right?
Yeah, true. So I don't know. Anyway, that's not.
I don't want to get
really
too into it, but last time this happened, Apple got a carve out immediately. So,
Yeah, I mean,
it's not impossible for companies to get around these things.
I'm sure Miyamoto can give so and so a call, and then some money can grease hands or whatever if it's needed, right?
Yeah. Well, if you think that
I do agree with you though. If they release it at $299, people are going to be like, hell yeah.
Those will fly off the shelves if they manage to do it without increasing the price.
I absolutely think I think people would call it an instant buy. Instant, right? Like it doesn't as long as it meets the expectations people have for it, which are probably low. Not low in terms of like bad, but low in terms of against other products, right?
Imagine if Nintendo does a pro consumer thing and makes it so I don't have to buy a new pro controller.
Ooh.
My God.
No, but there's a new button.
Oh, you're right, son of a bee.
You forgot about the C button. You got to get a new controller.
Gosh darn it, dude.
Killing me, Smalls.
That one was off the top too. I wasn't even thinking about it before you said it.
I dreamed the beautiful dream. Ruined immediately.
Yeah. Come on. That Pro controller's got 8 years of use on it. You can buy a new one. I mean, heck, by the time you buy a Switch 2, it might have 9 or 10 years of use on it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, how quickly do I need to even go buy the new Switch 2? Because like we don't even know what games are coming out.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, exactly.
And honestly, if they release and they're like, here's new Mario Kart, I can be like, I can wait and get the new Mario Kart in a year after they release 400 DLCs or whatever for it.
Oh, it'll be like, here's new Mario Kart, here's Ocarina of Time remastered, and
here's Wind Waker remastered.
Oh, it's already it's just remastered. No.
That's not tempting me enough that I feel I need to buy a Switch 2 yet.
Mario side scroller.
I think the thing that would get me is if they're like, here's the new 3D Mario, right? Like here's Mario Odyssey 2 or whatever the next Mario Odyssey type game is. That would get me.
All right. Well, they'll have 5. I would say they're going to have 5 staple launch titles.
Prime 4?
Yeah. No, not Prime 4.
We don't think that's ready.
The remaster of the second Prime, right?
That's right. They did release the first one, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Prime 2 remaster. Easy.
Okay.
Easy call. Because then you get people back in and you can get time to get 3 and 4 out before
I mean, that just assumes that you think Nintendo is going to do things logically, which we all know that's not how they roll.
I'm saying this with my tongue firmly bitten by my teeth and shoved into my cheek.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna ace it.
New Mario Golf, new Mario Tennis.
Holy
cow! What kind of ace are we talking?
They released a golf. They released a golf on the Switch.
I know.
Yeah.
And did they do a tennis too? I don't remember if they did tennis or not.
I want to say there was a tennis.
Switch Sports, bring it back, baby. Wii Sports needs to a solid re-release.
Oh, I feel like there's a good chance they're going to do that. That feels like almost a guarantee. There is going to be some kind of Wii Sports Resort type game.
Mario and Sonic again. Olympics in LA.
I'm sure Ubisoft is going to keep making those, right?
Yeah, probably. Probably. What do we even want people to email us their prediction of? I don't even know. Price? Price.
Yeah, guess the price for sure. And then what other titles
what
you
games
think are going to...
What do you want to see launch with it?
Yeah. Yep. Give us your top 5s.
Where at, Michael?
They can do that at podcast@weweregamers.com. You can also find us on YouTube, youtube.com/@weweregamers, and find us on Blue Sky too.
We'll post there sometime.
Yeah, eventually.
When we got stuff to post.
Sure. And tune in next week while I read the phone book and Andy and JJ one more turn themselves into oblivion.
Yeah, Civ is coming.
It's
coming. A week from today.
Can I convince myself to wait for it to be on sale? That's the real question.
I think the real question is, how busted is the launch going to be? Because this happens every time with Civ. I feel like they release, people are like, oh my God, it's a new Civ. They all pile in, and then they're like,
break it.
Yo, this game's AI doesn't work, or like this one system is completely broken. Like stuff is just like not where it needs to be. And then like a couple months in, they fix it up and it's like pretty good. So I'm not necessarily needing to jump in the first day, I think.
I always wait. I don't know, but they have advanced access starting on the 5th, so maybe they'll fix it before the actual launch date.
5th is today? Tomorrow? As of this recording? Yeah.
Yeah. So by the time this is out, pre-purchasing an advanced access bundle for $30 extra gets you 6 days of buggy access to the game.
Yeah, so I mean, they must, reviews have already hit, so I think they're like, it's a they're pretty ahead of the game if they're already giving out review code and like saying this is what's going to release and that stuff. So maybe they'll have a handle on it, maybe.
I only wish success to the Civ franchise, so fingers crossed. I do talk myself out of pre-ordering things though, so I'll wait.
Yeah, I think waiting's the right call anyway. The reviews are pretty interesting. Go read a couple if you can, Andy.
I still have not read the Steam Deck one you sent me.
Okay.
We'll talk about it next week when the game's out and we hear what happened with the launch.
I have been reading several of them and I find it very funny, the like genre of review. And they're like, I am a person reviewing a Civ game. I don't know how to think like you, a person who has not played a Civ game. This is a tough review to write. But it's like,
yeah, I've
played thousands of hours of these games. So I'm going to review it from that perspective. If you haven't, I have no idea what your life is like. I don't know how to feel if this appeals to you or not. Maybe it will be good. Yeah. Maybe you will hate it. I don't know. It's like kind of been a theme where it's like I see a lot of these editors writing these reviews and you're like, they're too deep, they can't pull themselves back out anymore.
Yeah, I know. It's dangerous trying to explain to somebody how you can sit and just being like, yeah, I've been at it for 6.5 hours straight and it's probably about 2:30 in the morning. But if I just hit one more turn.
But Andy, the goal's right there, dude. You almost have that culture victory or whatever, right? You're so close, just a couple more.
To explain to somebody who can't experience it. It's not that you've never had the opportunity to experience it. It's that you don't have whatever weird genetic misappropriation has happened to your brain to make you continue playing this thing up and up into the wee hours.
Yeah, like I said, I think you can consider a Civ game a success if it can induce that feeling in you, right?
Yeah. Well, the game's not even out, and we're already talking about it at the end of a podcast as if we don't have things to do.
They've already won.
They've already won. Michael, get your phone book ready.